Hello, all, and thank you so much for joining us for a panel discussion today. Our theme for today is She Leads, and we've got four amazing speakers joining us online today to share their stories, experiences, and most importantly, their insights on this theme topic. So we've got quite a few ladies in the background as well in the audience. You cannot see them because we've spotlighted the speakers for today. So just to let you know, we do have audience in the background. So we really do thank them for being here as well. Our session will be recorded, and the reason being is a few ladies are currently at work or not able to attend. So they kindly asked us to record it, and we're happy to do so. And once we do record it, we'll actually share it in all the groups down the track as well. So what we'll do is in terms of the format, so we've got four speakers and they'll have an opportunity to introduce themselves shortly, just to give an idea, guess what they do and, what they're passionate about and what difference they make. And later on, we'll just continue to, we've got a few questions that we'll ask our wonderful speakers, and they'll give them, and they'll share some insights with us. We'll also have an audience in the background, and I do have an opportunity to ask any questions in the chat room. So that would be great. So then once we have an opportunity, we can share that with the audience as well. So first of all, I'd like to actually start with, before we actually introduce ourselves, I'd like to actually start with Michelle. The reason I wanted to do a warm introduction is to give you an idea of why we're here. So this group or this panel is called Socialites Together. Many of you might not be aware that Michelle is actually the founder of Socialites Facebook group. So something that started a while ago as, what my understanding is, a mum's group. She started in the Hills district. So it is called the Hills Socialites Facebook group. Started as a mum's group, and as of today, she has more than 1,800 members in the group. A very active, socially engaging group as well, and the women that actually connect as well. As the time progresses, Michelle has actually founded another group, which is called the Penrith Socialites Facebook group, and it has more than 700 members. And just recently, I put my hand up to say, well, why don't we establish some other socialites? And we have, so we're quite newish and we're growing as well. So in total, just as of today, and Michelle was the initiator of this great idea, saying, well, why don't we have socialites together? So we've got this amazing women, regardless where you live, can connect online. And that's what we're doing here today. So it's quite what another important detail to share is just recently Michelle has been recognized as in the founder of the Socialites Facebook group in her local newspaper. So a photo was taken of them and she shared it just to show you that, what difference one person can make. And I thought it was such a good idea, not only to give you a background of Socialites Together, the highlighters together, we're together, also to give you an idea that that warmly kind of introduces a topic of women leading in today's world, because here's a living proof of one person taking this initiative, taking an idea and basically leading by example, and something that started with probably a smallish local, group for mums, kind of expanded from Hills to Penrith, even all the way to eastern suburbs. And as of today, I actually checked this morning, so combining three groups together, so we have more than 2,500 women as members, and we're growing every day. So I just wanted to give you an idea. First of all, big applause to Michelle, but most importantly, to let you know, anyone who's listening in a bit later, one person can make a difference. And we are, like today, being Socialites Together is a leading proof of that. So that's enough of me of introduction, but I thought I'd just probably get started. I'm not sure who would like to start. If Michelle, would you like to get started, just to give audience, a warm introduction of who you are and what are you passionate about?
Thank you very much. Oh my God, Elena, oh my God, you were making me blush. I think the Zoom gods couldn't show my rosy cheeks, but I'm definitely blushing. So thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. But with the Hill Socialites and the Penrith Socialites, and obviously our new group, the Eastern Suburb Socialites, we wouldn't be able to do this without amazing volunteers and other women who jump on board and help us create these amazing events. And I have, messages almost like every day, oh, Michelle, can we do this? Can we do that? And I'm like, yeah, for sure. Because I guess over the last few years, the sort of thought process behind the Socialites has been, community supporting business and then business supporting community. And it is a bit of a, an affinity, symbol, because without one, we don't have the other. And I think in the audience today, we do have one of our Heal Socialites volunteers, Christine Johnson, who's really incredible. And I'm sure you'll all get to know her as time goes by as well. Over, I guess, my career over the last over 20 years, I've been working in the recruitment industry. And as everybody probably can tell, it's not really the sort of job for somebody who's faint-hearted, because we constantly have our ups and downs. But it's a very rewarding industry to be in. I remember my first day, I actually can still remember my first day as a temp in a large recruitment agency in the city. And I walked in and I saw and heard the buzz and the fun, and, it was all happening. I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I wanted to do. So I did a degree in communications, and then I did a master's in media, and I was still doing my master's in media while I fell into recruitment. But I think, it's all sort of combined and helped each other along the way. And, I find it very rewarding helping people find their careers and finding jobs that they want, that they find fulfilling and enjoy going to every Monday, not waking up on a Monday morning going, I don't want to go to work. Of course, we also help those people that need that help to transition to something like that as well. But I've worked. I started my own business, Cats Recruitment, 7 years ago, and I absolutely love it. And I'm really excited about the panel today, and I look forward to finding out a little bit more about the other panelists as well. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much for that. And I'm not sure who would like to go first. Next one, Catherine, Lily, Vandana, feel free. No pressure.
I can go. I can go.
Thank you.
Michelle, so lovely to meet you. And I just love what Eleanor said, that it doesn't matter where people live. It's about bringing a community together. So I think that's amazing. So my name's Vandana Reddy. Most people call me V, and my career has been most of my lived experience has been in human resources and change management, and I've worked across lots of different companies and countries and led teams. And I started my business just before COVID, without knowing COVID was going to hit, and found myself sort of in a place where you have to follow your instincts and go with what you have, and I did, and I actually don't regret it. And the reason I made that transition from a global role into working for myself was I was totally burnt out. And I just needed a break from all of that. And I remember my last day, I was telling the CEO that I think I have nothing left in the tank anymore, after working like literally 60 hours a week, and helping a business come through a major transition. So that was a start of something new, and I don't regret it. And going into COVID was a huge sort of learning experience. And there's so much that you think but you don't know about running your business. So I think I've kind of learned with the flow and just going with the punches and the flows of running a business. But very, very excited to be part of this. What I'm passionate about is inclusive leadership. I know it works, and I've seen it work in various parts of my life, not just in work, but also stuff that we do in our community. I'm part of a community of business owners here that is a member-based local group, and Eleanor's part of that. And we see how inclusivity works in those sort of forums. So I'm a big advocate for it, and I hope to share some of that today.
Thanks so much for sharing. Very inspirational as well. Catherine or Lily, it's up to you.
I'll go. Yeah, hi, I'm Catherine Hulse. I run a business called Chameleon Confidential Solutions, and there's several projects as well called the Bandari Project, which is the Women's Safety Awareness Project, and also the Bandari Executive Project, and I've got another one coming up which is it's a little bit on the secret side at the moment, but it's in the works soon. What my background has derived from 20 years of security risk management and investigations, factual investigations. And COVID was quite phenomenal in change. I sort of had left the industry. I've done my criminology and behavioural profiling as well, and I did a degree in through COVID in applied management and also leadership as a graduate. And I found that my skills and background could contribute in a community sense by helping women with safety awareness and so on. Okay. But then also for executive women or even executives overall, it could also help with their risk. And yeah, so my work is very transformational in what it delivers. It's to help reclaim confidence and what matters, and also lead with clarity. But also I find that a lot of the situational awareness is lacking. And I think that's a very valid point for safety and as well as in business. So yeah, with that, I think, I'll leave that there, and we'll talk more about it later.
Perfect. Thanks so much for that, Catherine. And I think one of the questions we have for the panel a bit later, we'll probably touch on that. So it'll be a great opportunity for you to expand on that as well. And Lily, thank you so much. When you're ready, please.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Elena, thank you for having me here today. So I'm a niche and personal brand coach for heart-led female service providers. And I help my clients to really capture their essence, unlock their superpowers, and market their business according to their own unique values, strength, and personality. So I don't do one-size-fits-all marketing or have to strategies or fancy schmancy marketing speak. I really help them to just get clear on who you are, what you do, and for whom, so you can more easily build a business you love with the impact that you're here for. So it's really about, building businesses from the inside out. And I think that really aligns here with being the leader that we're talking about, because as you so beautifully were talking about, Michelle, is how each individual person can make a difference. And I think that the difference that we can make the most and the impact that we're here for really comes from allowing ourselves to show up and to truly be who we really are in all aspects of our lives and our business. So I'm very passionate about guiding heart-centered coaches, healers, service providers to build an aligned business that is rooted in clarity, in confidence, and in authenticity, so that we can all, create that ripple effect in the market by just leading with love and authenticity, and of course, giving others what they need from us as a business person as well.
Thank you so much for that, Lily, as well. And I think I'm personally probably privileged because I know all four ladies personally, whether it's through business or through friendship as well. So I know them quite well as well. So it's really nice to, have an opportunity to be in this room and have an amazing audience that, kind of asking us some questions in the background as well. And by way of introduction, so for those that don't know me yet, you probably have seen me posting in Facebook groups, promoting this events, and that's what I really like doing. So I am a compassionate lawyer, and I'm also an accredited mediator. What I focus at the moment is what I help is to actually help women that are going through separation and beyond. So I think it's very, very fragile and quite probably confronting moment in their lives, and someone who actually walked the path and lived experience. I'm very fortunate to be able to be in a position where I can actually help those women based on not only just legal background and mediation background, but more on personal level to know, because I know what it's like. So I've been there. What I'm also passionate about, and I guess what brings me in this room, is empowering women in general, whether it's in person, and V is familiar with that as well, whether it's running events actually in person and helping women in business, and on any front as well. So and I'm very fortunate because to meet Michelle, and we're kind of what do you call it, very aligned in our values and our mission. And it's so great that when sometimes you find your tribe, and that's what I call it. So when you join powers with others, and you can actually have a bigger social impact moving forward. And in this case, it's for women for now. So that's the introduction. So I will actually get started because we've got 4 questions. So it's quite interesting ones. But what I might do is just ask a question, and feel free, whoever wants to go first, or we can just go around the room, so to speak. Since our theme is about leadership, and I guess the leadership of women in today's world, I'd like to get started with a question of that's probably something Lily would probably jump on very quickly, is to talk about personal branding. So I guess the question is, what makes a personal brand magic, especially for women in leadership? So I'm not sure, Lily, if you want to start. If not, then anyone else is welcome to. Thank you.
Very happy to jump into that. I think personal brand is something that can be very confusing to people because it feels like a technical term. But for me, a personal brand is really who you are and how you show up. So it's magnetic brand is when you really allow your essence to shine, when you can stand in your power unapologetically. So I suppose it's just being unapologetically who you are and owning your views and your values. It's when you can show yourself fully, warts and all. So all those things that you think are quirky that you might want to hide can very well be the very things that endear you to your audience. So it's really being calm, being confident, being real. And especially now in an AI world, I think people are looking for that authenticity. And it's also owning your genius, because when you can stand in who you are, that's quite magnetic. What it isn't is trying to follow formulas, trying to fit yourself into prompts, trying to be who you think your audience needs you to be. And also when you're trying to fit in. So a magnetic brand is really allowing yourself the freedom to be who you are in all scenarios. And that is very attractive to others. And when we can really shine in who we are, then you actually give everybody else permission to do the same. So your energy and your aura all comes through because you're not trying to censor yourself or think about who you need to be for somebody else. You're just quietly and confidently in your space, sharing your passions, sharing your values, sharing your genius, sharing your thoughts without a filter. I mean, obviously there's always, appropriateness, but it's not trying to censor yourself or filter yourself. It's just being who you are and unapologetically and calmly and authentically sharing all of that.
Thank you. I actually really love that. And it's beautiful, especially the moment when you mentioned about, I guess, being yourself, but especially when being in your own power and being a leader, you give other women permission to do the same. And I think a lot of women are actually struggling at the moment, whether it's imposter syndrome or other reasons as well. But I really love that. So I think we're very grateful to have you in the room, because I think a lot of women will relate to that as well. Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm just wondering, V might be, I just thought of it as well, because you're dealing quite a few in terms of change management, and especially for leaders. And I think personal brand will probably be something that on the radar as well.
Yeah, I definitely echo, what Lily said about being authentic. I think if I can draw my experience, being in workplaces and being in those corporate places, and I don't know the experiences that the audience have, but I think the blueprint that we have been given in the past is that leadership looks like this. It looks masculine. It looks aggressive, you know, in order to get results, this is how you need to be. And I think that model has really not worked, because women have different, they bring different capabilities. We are wired differently. I mean, I'm not stereotyping, but I think it's about that, you know, living ourselves authentically. We can bring femininity into workplaces, and be ourselves. And I think we're, you know, just giving yourself that permission. It's sometimes really hard to stand on your own and feel safe to speak up. But I think the more women that do that and show their femininity in leadership, that is so much more attractive and more purposeful than following a blueprint that has been called success. So I think that I'm seeing more and more, you know, younger women come through that have that ability to stand and be confident, and that's fantastic. Because I know, looking back, I certainly didn't have that at that age. You know, I'm talking about younger women in their 20s. So for women to sort of own that femininity and be themselves is definitely important in leadership.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I can see Michelle wants to contribute as well. I'm just wondering, I think for someone who's actually deals with, I guess, variety of, you know, in terms of recruitment, the industry you've got, you probably have, you know, so many insights on the topic as well, especially when someone was trying to stand out and get the job.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess, you know, the most common thing at the moment is very similar to, you know, AI and content and what people like watching. It's actually very similar when it comes to interviews. People who, or our, you know, executives and managers that are interviewing people for roles, they really want to get to know the real person. So the days of, you know, putting up a mask and trying to only portray the things that you want to portray, you know, obviously it's still important to be, you know, professional and, you know, highlight your most relevant things, but people want to know, who is this person that we're going to be working with, you know, 7 days a week, you know, 7.5 hours a day. So people really want to know, you know, who the real person is. And, you know, I totally agree with both V and Lily in regards to, you know, people can still be confident, but they can still be kind. You can still be assertive, but you can still be kind. And that, I think, is extremely important. And that's something that I found, you know, throughout my career. And this probably doesn't really make sense, but I always say you get more bees with honey. I know it doesn't really make sense because that's not how, you know, you get bees, or, you know, but I always believe that if you're nice to people, you're more likely to you know, get the result that you want. But with my line of work, I always try to get a win-win-win. So it's a win for the client, a win for the candidate, and, you know, if they're winning, then I'm winning. So, you know, I'm happy to, you know, obviously achieve that win as well. But I also agree with, you know, using your story as your power, because people, you know, want to get to know you. When it comes to personal branding on your social media, people get attracted to that sort of thing. In regards to, you know, different platforms, I guess, you know, we're obviously on Zoom today, but, you know, we're all on LinkedIn, we're all on Facebook, we're all on Insta, we're all on email. You know, it's really important to show that consistency and who you really are across all your platforms. And for women in business, obviously consistency in general is really, or men as well, you know, consistency in showing up and being visible and being out there is extremely important, because, you know, especially with our group, you know, once upon a time, you know, we started with minimal members, and, you know, once the word gets out and people talk and people want to become part of it, you know, it's incredible, you know, how things can grow. But I think also, you know, being generous, you know, with your knowledge is also really, really important, you know, when it comes to being a magnet for personal branding. And I guess that's what we're all doing here. You know, we're sharing our knowledge, we're supporting each other. And even that's something that we try to do as part of our recruitment process. Like, we always try to share knowledge and point people in the right direction, especially when they're preparing for interviews. So we definitely, don't coach them into saying what they should be saying, but we sort of give them all the information so that they have it, and then they can take that away and adapt their personalities and their experiences to help them put their best foot forward.
Thank you so much for that.
Mm.
So I've got some questions in the chat, so I've got a little bit distracted. Thank you so much for sharing that. So Catherine, and would you like to add to this topic as well, please? Not a topic, but a question at this stage.
Yeah, for sure. With my experiences and everything, I find courage is the main magnetism, like getting out there, exposing yourself. I myself was an introvert, and having to get out there out of my comfort zone is one of my, my themes. That was an issue, but I finally got there. But I agree with Michelle too that sharing freely sharing your knowledge is with the community is also a viable way of displaying your uniqueness, and also to your audience and your authentic self. But also you'll get the opportunities from that as well. So with your self authenticity, and I think that's an attraction, like a magnet attraction thing. So yeah, that's where I come, in with that. So I hope that's enough. Thank you.
Thank you so much for contributing to that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the second question I just thought about was quite interesting. It's probably very broad as well. So feel free to kind of tailor it based on, I guess, your experience and your insight. I mean, women today are facing a lot of challenges. So just the question is, what are the top challenges that are facing mothers or women returning to business, or perhaps already kind of running a corporate job? Like, I know V's very experienced with that as well, but just to give an idea, what are the top challenges, so you can address it more from a women point of view that are returning to business, and maybe those that do have a mothers and have a family. So I know, for example, Michelle's got 3 children and they're quite young, so I know she'll probably be thrilled to share some knowledge about from mother's point of view as well.
Yeah, well, I personally think that there are probably like 3 main areas, when it comes to, moms sort of, facing, returning to the workforce, and obviously, or potentially maybe, returning to business or their own business or starting a business. And, I think mainly more towards the workforce. Like, unfortunately, I think sometimes career gaps still get judged. Obviously, we've definitely come, a long way from what it used to be like. But unfortunately, it sometimes is. So it is really important that, while ladies are on mat leave, that they do keep, upskilling and keep their skills relevant to their industries, computer skills, obviously, AI and all that sort of stuff. I mean, that's something that, everybody needs to upskill on, I think, especially as we're, going through all these changes. I think also, the guilt and mental load as well, which kind of ties into my next thing, which was sort of, time constraints versus career sort of ambitions. I'm a very ambitious person, so I fill my diary up with lots of things, and then I'm like, I need to spend time with my children. So, and when I think I'm a lot better these days. Like, I don't have that guilt as much, because when I spend my time with my kids, I make sure that I'm present, and I do create obviously non-negotiables to make sure that I do spend that time with them, because obviously I love them very much. But my girls, I do actually get very inspired with all the things that I get involved in. And they're like, oh, Mum, you're doing that. And oh, Mum, you're doing that. And, I think that they hopefully will become, better humans, from that. But I think, as mums, we do, it is really, really tough. So we need to make that self-care non-negotiables. You know, we need to surround ourselves with support groups, with good friends. And, you know, I can tell you, like, it's definitely not easy, you know, being a mum and running a business and, you know, working in an industry where, you know, we're constantly very, very busy dealing with people and, you know, trying to get the best results for everyone. You know, and I guess it just comes down to that you can, you know, only control what you can control and just, you know, try and be, you know, the best at what you do.
Thank you so much for that. I think that a lot of
Thank
mums watching or mums to be will be very inspired, you know, finding this, you know, I guess a happy balance, something we will always look forward to every day. Thank you so much. So, I don't know,
Thank you.
V, Lily, Catherine, anyone else would like to?
Yeah, I think I agree with a lot of what Michelle has said. And also just beyond those ones is that when we become parents and stepped out of the workforce, who we are inevitably changes and our priorities change. And sometimes it's difficult to come back to our work as it was, because we need to figure out who we are again. As you've mentioned before, imposter syndrome can sometimes come in because we've stepped out of it, we've stepped into a different role. But I think with all of these things, it's really just like anywhere else. You know, winning means being kind to yourself. It's asking for help. And it's setting those boundaries. As Michelle said, when she comes home, she's with her kids. So it's really important to take the time to think about who you are and who you want to be in this new phase of life. And, you know, as we were talking before, it's being who you are in all those settings and bringing it just holistically, looking at things holistically, because we will obviously share different parts of ourselves and more appropriate in different situations, but it's really important to be authentic to yourself, to remind yourself that you've still got all the skills and the value that you had before. And in fact, sometimes it's, you know, even more because you're now hopefully more passionate about what you want to do. You've got more juggling skills. And, you know, when I was in the traditional workforce, you could definitely see that the mums who came in were a lot more focused on the work that they needed to do, because they know they had a finite amount of time and they knew that they want to get home and be with their families. And I think, you know, a reminder to embrace that in yourself and to just be kind. And, you know, it leads back to the discussion we had before about personal brand and just being who you are in all the elements and honoring yourself for who you are. And that I think is key and should really hopefully help us with that mental load that Michelle was talking about. And sometimes, you know, we feel we've got to part our family and be someone in this setting and someone in that setting. And I certainly know that I've done that in the past. But when we can just drop who we think we have to be and be who we are with all our elements, then everything really comes into place.
Thank you so much for that. Just wondering, I'm looking, Catherine and V both want to go, but which one would you go next?
Okay, yeah. Well, I think, like Lily was trying to point out, there's an identity issue with, you know, with returning to work. But I think when you've got your boundaries set and self-compassion, you need to prioritize. And then also you need to have the right support network, like mentoring, you know, to get you back into your empowerment, you know, for your roles. And I think that is key. But I also think, you know, you have to work out how to overcome societal expectations so that are placed on you in when you're returning to work, you know, and stuff like that. So once you can overcome them with those boundaries, and, you know, and you also know that your time with your family is very, you know, crucial, especially when they're young and they're growing up, and even teenagers these days, you know, they need that attention. But I think prioritizing yourself and your needs, and as well, that would be the critical element on, that's facing mothers. But I think also feeling guilty when you first come in because you're leaving your family is, that's something you need to overcome as well. Yep.
Thank you, Vi.
I'll just make 2 points. I think what I'm still seeing is some businesses are still slow to catch up on helping women come back to work and come back into a supportive place, because as all of you've said, so much changes when women go through that stage and have children. And we know that women still do a bulk of the care work, not only caring for children, but caring for probably parents and other folks. So that care role is still very much on women. And some of the practical things I usually say to businesses is create policies and expectations or mechanisms where men can take parental leave and extended parental leave, because we know some men actually want to be a stay-at-home dad. How do we create some of those, that's more for businesses, creating those kind of policies and family-friendly policies that support everybody, not just women, but also men as well. Just practically, I know that when someone goes on maternity leave, they have 10 days that they can sort of touch base with their employers. It's a legislated, entitlement. And I suggest all women take that, because that means you proactively set those 10 days that you'll get paid to touch base with your employer and still be present. Because one of the things that happens is when you're out of sight, you're out of mind. And businesses generally forget that. So I think sometimes you have to educate them and say, hey, I'm still here. I'm very capable. Yes, my priorities have changed, and this is how I want it to look like. So I think that, going back to that sort of core, women need to sort of be themselves, take control of their, their careers, their leadership, and take opportunity of all of those mechanisms in place.
Could I just quickly pop in
Please
and
do.
just say something? When obviously running my own business, with maternity leave doesn't really exist, and my little one is going to be 3 in August, and we were very lucky. Some companies are actually doing this really well. Like my husband's employer actually gave him 4 months paternity leave, which was an absolute blessing, because to be honest, I think the 2nd or 3rd day after I had the baby, I was like already at work at my computer. I even had my laptop out in the hospital, which is, I know, a little bit crazy, but sometimes, when you run your own business, nobody else is coming to save you. So you've just got to jump on and do it. So, but that's very true, Vi, what you were saying about, parental policies and helping women take some of the load off so they can, still run their businesses and still, have their careers as well. I guess, yeah, as we've been talking, like, it's all about balance, but yeah, it's so important, right? So.
Thank you so much for sharing that as well. So I think it's quite interesting because there's very important points that that actually brought by all 4 of you. But I think the ones that stood out to me were just priorities and also setting boundaries as well. And I think that's such a nice way of introducing the next question that we set up. When we do have those priorities and boundaries to balance, I guess. So how can women lead without burnout or giving up their values in light of, I guess, priorities and boundaries as well?
So I'll take that. I think, again, it's just coming back to self. Everything feels like it's a little bit more. It's just taking time for reflection and dropping the shoulds and being who you are. So decide on your values, decide what's non-negotiable. Have a look at what you're passionate about. Bring that to your work. What's hasn't worked for you in the past, or what's not working for you now? What do you want more of? Just when you think about coming back to work or anything, are you in the right environment? Are you able to be who you are in that environment? Because we're all different, experience different things in different places. And if you just take all of this and really create a roadmap for yourself, It can be like a guide against which you make your decisions. It can be a compass that allows you to create a business, a life, a role, a job that really is going to honor and serve who you are. And then when things are misaligned, you can make the changes when you start to see them and feel them, rather than when you get to a place that it is so out of alignment that you dread getting up and going to work every day. So it really, for me, is, follow the joy, follow what lights you up, and just curate your work and your life around those core themes and core values. And also, I think, is, allowing yourself to take breaks. It's really hard, especially when you're a mother and a working mother, to, there's so much to get done, and we want to try and do everything, and we have those expectations of ourselves that sometimes are actually not aligned with reality. So, give yourself permission, be kind to yourself, take breaks when you need them. And those breaks can literally be mini moments in your day where you're just savoring your coffee, or, this morning I listened to a 3-minute meditation just to ground myself again. To as big as go walk on the beach, or take a weekend off. So it's really, I think somebody else already mentioned, it's self-compassion and care. And that looks different to different people. But when we look after ourselves, and when we are clear on what we need, and ask for help and curate that, then I think everybody is better off, because when our cup filleth over, then we really have more to give to our families, to our societies, and to our jobs as well. So yeah, for me, that's where we can all go, so that we don't burn out, but trying to either be who we're not, burn the candle at both ends. As Vi mentioned, she has done in the past. So,
well, thank you so much for sharing. I think the coffee part really resonates with me. I'm a big coffee lover. I think everyone knows. So I think for me, that moment of peace, or I guess some people find a meditation, I gave myself a permission that I will have my coffee in the morning, and it has to be hot, not cold coffee that's, I forgot about. So that's my 5 minutes. So it really, really resonates with me, because that's when my son knows, don't talk to mum, because my mum needs to have a hot coffee for 5 minutes in peace. So thank you. I love that. Thank you. I'm just wondering, Vi as well, I actually thought of you as well. I guess you're an expert in change management and working with leaders. And I thought in terms from, I guess, from work, even from corporate point of view, and just would love to hear your insight about, I guess, about values, because I guess that's probably a big component of what you do as well.
In terms of
yes, well, when I guess we're dealing with leadership, because you are very passionate on something you specialize in terms of values, even the values in terms of not only women, but also in workplace as well.
Yes,
if that's something you wanted to touch on, if you're comfortable.
Oh, totally. I think this is a conversation you and I were actually having, is saying no more. So I think our default is, and maybe I'm putting everybody in the same bucket, is to say yes to everything. And saying yes to everything sometimes means you actually are diluting from what, your priorities. So it's about protecting yourself, your energy. I think I'm learning that more and more. And I mean, looking back at my experience in that role, where I thought if I do more, I grind more, I give more, then, I'll get ahead more. And look, traditionally that has worked in some places, but the more you give, the more people take. So I always say to leaders, and not just women leaders, but women just generally tend to give more, but leaders overall, that as leaders, there's this popular book, put your oxygen mask first, look after yourselves first. Because if you don't, then you don't have, it's that cylinder. How much do you have in your tank to give, not just to yourself, but to others, and then, let alone children and family. So, and leadership is an unforgiving role. Nobody will thank you for being an amazing leader unless you're amazing. They expect you to be a great leader. So I think it's about saying no more. And the only way you'll say no to things more is when you know what are the three or two things that are definite, that's important to you, that are the non-negotiables. And then everything else, even though it looks enticing, has to be a no.
Be comfortable with saying no.
Be comfortable with saying, yeah.
Thank you. Catherine, Michelle, or Catherine looks like she'd like to add. Please do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when you master, when you're a leader and you're, to avoid burnout, you need to master your boundaries and stick with your values and delegate and ensure you have a supportive network as well to pick up the slack if you need that to happen. But also prioritizing your self-care always. And I mean, that's pretty much of a good theme here with the questions. And, take the time out when needed and, and just master what you can. Something is better than nothing in terms, of contributing. But like Dee said, we're yes people all the time, and that becomes overwhelming, especially when you've got family demands as well on top of your professional demands. So I think the overall context is mastering your boundaries and, and put yourself first. Thank you.
I completely, agree with all the ladies, especially with Dee and Catherine, in regards to, setting your boundaries and obviously not saying yes to everything. And I actually really love this question because I think it's really important once you actually know what your values are, and if you can actually work to those values rather than just hustling, you actually get to enjoy the journey a lot more. I think you can have those pockets of, me time. You need to create the non-negotiable self-care time, go get a manicure, go get a massage, do that meditation. Like Lily, I love I actually sometimes, it's one of my probably things that I, Google, 5 minute morning meditation. And I love it. And, that's that 5 minutes that I have to, disconnect. I sit back in my chair, put on my headphones, and that's, my me time. And it's amazing. It actually really sets you up for the day. I even have, I don't know if anybody does this, but I have, the 5 minute, gratitude journal. And sometimes we even do that as a team in our office, and we'll share the quotes and go, oh yeah, and we kind of, delve into that. So it's just like a few minutes, just for yourself. And I think also, Catherine mentioned in regards to, having a support network, both professionally and personally, having your friends, having your sisterhood, maybe even having a mentor, somebody that you can talk to who's been there, done that, who's perhaps maybe, raised children, while they've had a successful career or ran a successful business. I think, as women, we probably understand each other more in regards to, what we're going through. It's also good to have, male people as mentors and, mix it up a little bit. But I think obviously having that female touch is quite important for women. But also, I think for me, something that really made me change and made me feel so good about myself. And I kind of, what's that word? Is that I felt invincible, is when I became comfortable with really understanding that, no, I'm not perfect. I do make mistakes. Sometimes, my hair looks messy, or sometimes perhaps maybe I should, be a little bit different in certain scenarios. But I became comfortable knowing that I am who I am, and I will, as you said, Elena, before, attract my tribe. And, once you actually let go of all the things that you should be, you do become incredible. And, that doesn't mean that I don't have imposter syndrome. Sometimes I do. And, I sit with that and I'm like, okay, well, it's something that I need to work on more. And, I'll get to it when I have time. But, as Elena was saying, once you find your tribe, you're comfortable with yourself and you you have your support network and you know what your values are and you work to them rather than just hustling, then you're definitely, on the right track.
So well put as well. Thank you so much for that. So I'm just conscious of time because I know we had a bit of a glitch in the beginning, but we were doing round 2. So that brings us to the last question. So before I actually ask this question, I just mentioned to the audience, if you've got any questions that you like for the speakers to address, feel free to put in the chat. So we'll have a bit of opportunity. It gives you a bit of a time to think about the question. So we're more than happy to address it. So the last question we have for today is, I guess, probably a little bit more broad one. So you can look at it from different perspective as well. And it's more to think about what safety tips should every woman leader know right now. So it doesn't need to be only physical, but I guess psychological, emotional as well. So I'll probably get started with Catherine because she's an expert in this area. So would love you to take the lead, please. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you, Elena. Yeah, well, most these days in particular is being aware and vigilant of your digital footprint, especially because you've got to make sure your social media profiles are secure and also your personal information isn't inadvertently shared. Also, with the physical world, it's very crucial to have situational awareness. That's when you're traveling or even shopping. Make sure you prioritize your safety and use intuition. That is your superpower, especially with women. And also have a security plan in place of the surroundings. Familiarize yourself with your exits and all this sort of stuff. Even for personal stuff, when you're shopping and everything. But be aware of the trends, because a lot of people, in particular with executive for women or even business in general, they're not aware of the trends involving cybercrime, that sort of thing. So, but also I don't know whether I need to put this out there at the moment, but I also have a 60-second cyber audit for your mobile device. If anyone's interested for me to do that now, I'd be happy to. And, just it takes 1 minute. People get told to do security checks on your devices and everything, but they're never told how. Yeah. So for situational awareness. So if that's okay, I can do that right now, if that's all right with everyone.
Just have a look whether I need to allow shares. Do I need to allow you to share the screen? No,
I'm going to just vocalize it.
Perfect. Yes, please do. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, everyone, you ready? Get your mobile device out. Okie dokie. Now, it's a little bit different than what the format is. I'm sorry about that, but I think it's very important for our audience, especially executives or even women in particular, to have to do this. So first off, we're going to check our lock screen. So is it a swipe? Is it fingerprint Face ID or swipe pattern? If your phone isn't locked, your business isn't either. So, quick, easy leak if your lock screen's not working. Open your Wi-Fi settings on your phone. And if you connect it to public Wi-Fi, or there's Wi-Fi providers there that are not familiar with you, there should be something you should, disconnect with that. With the public Wi-Fi with Starbucks, airports and hotels, the network's open, which can be an entryway for leaks and, security breaches, and your emails are even open to that. Okay. Next one is your app permissions. Review your app permissions, like your local locations, going to your privacy settings. see what access is available to your microphone, your camera, in the background, you know, and then you ask yourself, why does that particular app need my permission to, you know, need consent for that to happen? Even a mediation app, why does, or meditation app, why does that need your location? You know, these sort of things you've got to critically think about the why, ask why, always ask why in everything with cybersecurity or, you know, and everything. Check the software updates, always have it on automatic. Yeah. And if your device isn't updated, it's vulnerable, of course, and they're not considered to be annoyances. If they're automatically running in the background, that's really good. But, you know, they're a shield to your device and to your information, to your privacy, to your safety. So you must, and even with traveling, about whether you're going into foreign lands or, you know, even locally, into domestic, always check the settings and everything for this, because, you know, you can have someone at a cafe just decide to, you know, upload stuff out of your phone or whatever, you know, and steal your information. I recently was at a conference. The hotel had an open public Wi-Fi connection, and my network provider was, my security network provider was going apeshit over it, you know, do not do this, do not do that. So, yeah, so I was just, you know, I think it's just very, very important to do this daily, but even more so if you're traveling, because I think, you know, there's so much more risk you're not aware of, and fraud in particular, you can see me about, because the trends in particular, nobody is, while everybody's looking at minding their business, minding their own business, so to speak, you know, they're not looking at trends. So that's an important consideration as well. But that's why we hire security advisors and cybercrime strategists and stuff like that to be prepared for that.
Thank you, Catherine. We just have a quick question. Do you suggest not using, there's a question from from participants. Do you suggest not using public Wi-Fi at cafe and centres? What would your take be?
What I suggest is you need to, it's not safe, like public Wi-Fi is just not safe. However, there is you should put your phone on airplane mode and take off the Bluetooth, for instance. So, you know, sometimes we need to make decisions on whether it's for practicality value, you know, with Wi-Fi, but do you need to look at that marketing, you know, a Facebook post or anything like that, you know, at a time when you're in a public space, you know, secured space, out in the open, exposed. But at another time I've heard, I'm not sure whether this is correct or not on a marketing sense, those public spaces are collecting data off you too by you using their data, their Wi-Fi, so to sell. Yeah, so it's basically a decision you need to take yourself.
Be cautious. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing, Catherine. Well, we'll just
You're
move
welcome.
along, because just conscious that we're going a little bit over time. So for those that are being very patient in the background, so we are kind of wrapping up soon as well. I just wanted to give other panel speakers an opportunity as well, just to, I guess, to refresh the question was, what safety tips should every woman leader know right now? I was wondering if I think you had a bit of a chat before, whether that's something, I know your perspective was slightly different to, I guess, Catherine's. if you're comfortable to contribute to that as well.
Which part, sorry?
Yeah, so what safety tips should every woman leader know right now?
Oh, I think just knowing your and all of the stuff that we touched on, your boundary and your mental capacity and protecting that, because there is so much overload, and just knowing when to stop, restore, recover, and then re-enter. So I think it's just having that clear mindset of knowing when you've reached your threshold. So very important. Yeah.
Thank you. Michelle, Lily, would you like, depending on what your perspective?
I think what we can talk to also is like on the online platforms. So things like not allowing just anyone to be able to post to your Facebook feed. For example, you can keep people off when you put yourself out there to market yourself and your business. If there are any trolls, delete them, report them. Don't get in too much of your energy, because that'll just bring you down and stop you watering yourself. And you really don't owe anyone anything. There will always be haters. So just remind yourself to stand in your power. And if they're not aligned, get them out of your space in any way, So there's those sorts of things to just keep your own space online, feeling good, feeling safe, bringing in the people that you want to have with you, and just literally blocking and getting others off there. And if they don't align, it doesn't have to be hate speech. It could just be that, somebody's come into your world that actually makes you feel uncomfortable. It could be as simple as that. You don't have to be, you don't have to be horrible, but you don't have to be nice. You don't have to have people in your world because they want to be there. If they're not aligned, if they don't make you feel good about yourself, if they don't make you, if having them in your space causes you to make yourself small, get rid of them, get them out. And likewise, if you are in another space that no longer feels good, get out of it. Don't unsubscribe to emails. It really can be as simple as that. Guard your own energy, guard your own, we've spoken a lot about values and personal care, and I think that comes into all of that. So safety doesn't have to be something that feels such an acute danger, but it really is just protecting yourself from outside influences that are going to slowly erode who you are and what you're doing in the world. Yeah.
Thanks so much. That's such a great advice, especially when we'll live in a social media world.
Yeah.
Fortunately, unfortunately, depending how you look at it. Thank you. And Michelle, is there something we would like to contribute as well?
Yeah, mine is probably a little bit more from like a career and sort of business sort of sort of setting. It's really important to make sure that you document everything. So when you do have important conversations, that you put things in writing to confirm, and just make sure that you don't sort of set yourself up in a position where you don't have that backup or proof. So obviously, with businesses like ours, like we have CRMs where we document everything. So it's really important to do that as well, because they're great, because they have timestamps and all that sort of stuff. So that can definitely help you from a safety perspective. And then also in regards to that sort of thing, if you are working in perhaps maybe in a toxic work environment, it's important to, you will probably agree with me, to make sure that you document everything and that you know your rights as well. Obviously speak to your manager or HR as well if it needs to be escalated. Burnout is also a safety risk, so do not risk it. Make sure that you make time for self-care and things like that. And perhaps if your workload is too massive, speak to your manager about it and make sure that it gets adjusted, because at this day and age, some people are doing 3 or 4 jobs because companies are being lean and workload is very high. So do make sure that you don't get yourself to that tipping edge So make sure you ask for help, before that. And also, refer to your company, HR policies, which V will probably agree with me. And also, for business owners, there is, I think it's called, is it Beyond Blue? But they do actually have one for business owners as well, because obviously we do go through stressful times. Sometimes, cash flow can be stressful. Sometimes managing people can be stressful. Sometimes working, in different environments and dealing with different personalities can also be stressful. So make sure that you see the signs when you need the help and ask for the help before, it's too late.
Thank you so much for sharing that. So it just brings me, I guess, to conclude our panel discussion, which I think everyone really enjoyed it, and we had a very engaging audience. So thanks so much for being here and asking questions. We've raised so many important points today, and I think in terms of summary, I'll probably could summarize it as perhaps 4 points. So for me, from what I've heard as well today, was the biggest takeaways were, or probably in the summary, is be yourself, stay true to your values, reach out to support network, and most importantly, find your tribe. And speaking of finding your tribe, those that are listening in or those that will be watching the recording, if you're not part of our Socialites Facebook, you're very welcome to. So we've got 3 groups. So we've got the Hills Socialites, we've got the Penrith Socialites, and Eastern Suburbs Socialites as well. And just to give you an idea of what we're actually doing moving forward, as in developing and moving forward with a tribe, or I guess, giving all the ladies opportunity to reach out. So we started last month that we continue the theme. So last Friday of the month, so we'll be at 12 o'clock online, we'll be running what we call Network, Connect, and Collaborate. So we're just inviting to everyone. So it's a free event as well. So all you need to do is pretty much just watch the space. We'll share the Zoom link. So it gives you an opportunity to come in. So we had it run it last month. It was very popular, and someone said, "Can you do it again?" And we decided, well, why not? So we'll be doing it last Friday of the month. So it'll be the next one, 27th of June, 12 o'clock online. So really good opportunity, whatever the reason is. So we're here to support you. You find a lot of ladies that are, especially if you self-employed and kind of working from home, it's such a good opportunity to reach out. That could be a very limited opportunity to reach out, and from this comfort of your own home. If you're running a business, so it's a great opportunity to introduce yourself and share what you're passionate about, and help you, to find the ideal clients for you. So I think I'm just double checking to make sure. So, okay, yes. So another a good point someone just raised is you don't need to change who you are to succeed. So it's a really good way to summarize the session today as well. So thank you so much for everyone who has actually joined us live, and huge thank you to the panelists for taking the time to contribute, to so many important questions today as well. So we'll be recording this session, and what we'll do once it's all finalized, we'll share it in the groups. So thank you for leaning in, and do join our tribes if it feels right for you. Thank you. I'll just stop the recording.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, all.
Bye.